Hi guys, and welcome to Siska Stitches. Today's tutorial is on this super easy DIY reversible satin bonnet. It's a very simple project that you can finish within 30 to 45 minutes. So guys, if you're not subscribed to my channel, please click the subscribe button and also click the notification bell which is beside the subscribe button so you get notified whenever Siska Stitches post new videos. And now we can go ahead and begin this super easy tutorial process. So guys, what I have here is a reversible satin bonnet that I already have made, and as you can see, it has the same pattern on the fabric, but they are of different colors. So in order to make a satin bonnet, basically you can actually use a normal print for the outer part and then use satin for the inner part. So guys, the first thing we're going to do is to create our pattern, and I have my paper folded into two, and we're going to fold this again as if we are making a 360-degree flare. So I'll just go ahead and fold it, and I folded it in such a way that I'll have like my radius length right from the apex. So I folded it in such a way that I have my radius length right from the apex. So I'll be going with 12.5 inches from that apex, and this will give me a medium sized satin bonnet. But if you want a large size satin bonnet, you can go up to 15 inches, 18 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and from that apex continue to mark 12.5 inches, and this is inclusive of seam allowance. Please take note, this is inclusive of seam allowance, and your seam allowance can be 0.25 inches, it can be 0.5 inches. So I made more points, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and join them together to create my curve. And of course, after joining, we are going to cut this piece out. This is basically like creating a 360-degree flare. It's actually very simple. You don't want to go lesser than this, as that will more or less like fit a kid's head, and if you want to go more, you'll be making like a jumbo sized satin bonnet. So I'm just going to go ahead and open this up, and we have like this very large circle right here, which I'm going to now cut on fabric in two places, because like I said, we are making a reversible satin bonnet. So guys, this is the fabric I'll be using. I've cut it out now, and like I said, we need two pieces for this. I need to place these pieces on each other with right sides touching. We'll be sewing with a seam allowance of 0.25 inches. So remember to place it right sides touching, and I'll just go ahead and sew with a 0.25-inch seam allowance all around, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do next. So guys, I've gone ahead to sew, and I also made sure that I overlocked the raw edges with a zigzag stitch. You want to do that especially if the edges of the fabric are fraying, so it doesn't loosen after you have made your satin bonnet. So for this now, I actually had a 1-inch space right here, which is what we're going to use to turn inside out. So I didn't close this seam entirely. So what I'm doing now is just making tiny notches all around the places that I have sewn. The reason why I'm doing this is such that when I turn this inside out and press it, it will be quite easy for me to press, because everywhere around this is curved. So I'll just go ahead and make my tiny notches, and then once I'm done, I'm going to use this opening to flip my fabric inside out. So we'll be bringing the satin part of this fabric right outside. So what the space I gave was about 1.5, I think 1 inch, 1.5 inch. So you can just go ahead and do that. So after I've turned this inside out now, I'll just go ahead and press this down so it it's easy for me to mark the seam allowance that we're going to create later. I have gone ahead to press this, and this is what I have. This is the opening right here. So the next thing we are going to do is determine the length of the elastic we are going to use. So what I have here is, the width of the elastic. So I have this elastic that has width of about 0.5 inches. The bigger one is about 1 inch. So the size of elastic you use will determine what we're going to do next. So if I'm going with this now, this band, elastic band, is just 1/8 of an inch less than 1 inch, as you can see. So you want to like make a point on your main fabric about 1.25 inches, which is what I'm doing. And then if you're going with this, of course this is less than 0.5 inches, so you want to go with about 1/8 of an inch more than 0.5 inches. This is because by the time you are done sewing that around this fabric, your elastic can pass through. So that's why you need to go a little more than the size of the elastic you have. So this is what I'll be going with, and I'll be marking 1.25 inches from the edge. So I'm just going to mark 1.25 inches all around. You can go ahead and mark it all around. This will enable you to, have an easy sewing process. So that's what I'm going to do. Mark 1.25 inches so that our about 1 inch elastic band can pass through. So once I'm done marking, I'll just go ahead and take this to my sewing machine and sew. So just take it, sew it all around. So we're going to close this up. We're not going to leave it open like we did for the initial sewing at the top. So after sewing that, this is what we have, guys. And the next thing we are going to do after this is to insert the elastic. So the elastic measurement you will need, you have to measure around your head. So I'm just using this mannequin head as an example to determine how tight you want the elastic to be or how loose you want it to be. So whatever you are measuring, how tight or how loose, you need to ensure that you add seam allowance to the elastic band because you're going to sew that elastic up. So that's just an example. This is what I've cut out that would fit my head and is measuring about 23.5 inches inclusive of seam allowance. So that is what I have right there, about 23.5 inches inclusive of seam allowance. So I'll be needing safety pins to enable me pass this through the casing that we have made on the fabric. So I've pinned it on one end, which is what we're going to use to pass through this. Then for the other end, we're just going to pin it to just close to the opening that we have on this sewn fabric. The reason why we're pinning it down is such that by the time we're pulling the elastic through the casing, the entire elastic doesn't enter through, and then we have to start the process all over again. So I've taken that point, and then as you can see, it's quite easy for me to pass the elastic through the fabric with the use of the safety pin. So I'll just go ahead and continue to do that till we come out at the other end, right back where we started. So once we have that out, as you can see, it's already forming ruffles. Once we have that out, I'm going to take out the pins, and then we're going to sew by the seam allowance, and then I'm going to flatten it by sewing right on top of it so that it will not bulge in the casing of this satin bonnet. So once I'm done sewing, guys, we are going to pull the elastic through the fabric, pull the rest of the elastic through the fabric, and then we are going to seal up that opening that we have that we used to pass the elastic through. So what I'm going to do is fold that part in, and then we are going to sew just very, very close to the edge right there. And make sure that you sew this very, very neatly. So that is exactly what I'm going to do. So after sewing, I've just arranged it, and you can see you can't really see the sewing that I made because it's going to be hidden among the ruffles around the elastic. So this is it, guys. This is how to make a reversible satin bonnet. So I hope this tutorial was helpful to you guys. Thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on post notifications. And I'm going to see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.